I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come on to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Welcome back to Movie Mingle. I'm Caveman.
And I'm Maggie.
And we're on episode 30.
Wow.
30. 3-0, the next 10.
That's awesome.
And we're doing the menu.
Yay.
From 2022, I think?
Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy.
This movie was one of those ones that I think I saw the trailer, and like most horror comedies, I'm like, nah. Like, I don't know. I saw the trailer. I wasn't too impressed. The cast is impressive, but that was about the extent of it. I think it just wasn't really on our radar, but it was also kind of one of those post-pandemic movies that like was released in the theater, but had a very quick release to streaming. And once it was on streaming, I did not stop hearing good things about it. From just like people at large from the internet, like people are like, the menu, you have to watch it.
It's kind of the way Saltburn landed into our laps.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. It was one of those like, you have to watch this because it's bonkers films.
Yeah.
And
internet. Anytime the internet's just kind of like, more people need to be watching this movie so we can all talk about it.
Yeah. So we pulled it up.
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah, we spent an afternoon with it on, and I'm really glad we did.
I believe the first time we watched it, we both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, we went into it knowing nothing, which is honestly exactly the way you should go into this movie. So again, if you haven't seen the menu, just go watch it.
Yeah, don't even watch the trailer.
No, just put it on. It is a solid...
Just start watching it.
What, like 2 hours? A little less, 107 minutes? So, yeah, it's a little under...
Just a little under.
2 hours, and it's so good.
It was directed by Mark Millar and released in 2022. He directed 6 episodes of Game of Thrones, 12 episodes of Shameless, 16 episodes of Succession, 3 episodes of The Last of Us. Speaking of The Last of Us, he's supposed to direct the very first episode of season 2.
Oh, cool.
He directed one of the Ali G movies, and then he also directed The Big White with Robin Williams and Giovanni Ribisi.
And What's Your Number from 2011, which is an Anna Faris, Chris Evans rom-com. It's actually pretty cute. I remember seeing it only once, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'd happily rewatch it again. I think it was much more of like it was more of a raunchy rom-com, like an adult rom-com than like your basic, PG-13 one.
Sure. Mm-hmm. That might be interesting to watch with Chris Evans and Anna Faris.
And a huge cast of cameos in that one.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
It was written by Seth Reese, who's a TV writer. He's been a writing supervisor on Late Night with Seth Meyers during that whole run. Will Tracy was the other writer, and he's also a TV writer. So a lot of television across the board between the director and writers. The music was Colin Stetson, who did the music for Hereditary, so we'll talk about him again later when we get to that movie.
Yeah.
And again, a composer who's worked on a lot of television.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so at the moment, Brian Cox is in the news for basically shitting on the state of movies these days. And, they're all just those Marvel movies, and it's the end of cinema, and blah, blah, blah. And I adore Brian Cox because he's a great actor, but he's kind of an asshole. He's just out there just saying whatever the hell he wants without any repercussions. And you know what? The man's old, and he's Scottish, so whatever. Like, it doesn't affect how I feel about him. And it also doesn't affect how I feel about, like, Marvel movies. Like, I'm going to go see Marvel movies, and he has been in them. Like, he's gotten those paychecks.
Yeah, Brian Cox has been in a Marvel film.
But it's still very much like one of those things where you're like, all right, settle down, old man. Like, meh, meh, meh. But anyways, he was talking about how television is where they're doing old school movie stuff these days.
Right.
And I kind of, like, I kind of get that. I mean, The Last of Us is an incredible show. Game of Thrones shit the bed, but was incredible up until those last 3 episodes. Season. Like, they are doing a lot of great stuff with television these days because that's where they have a chance to like tell a big story. But on the other side of that coin, they also put out incredible shows that they cancel after 1 month of them being fully released because it just didn't find its audience in 1 month, right? Like The Acolyte or My Lady Jane, which I'm so sad about. It is what it is. Yeah, I'm not so. All this to say, I'm not surprised that like a bunch of TV dudes are doing great stuff in movie because look at the Russo brothers. They started on sitcoms, you know, Community and New Girl. Look at Ludwig Göransson. He's one of the most incredible and award-winning and profitable like musicians, like score musicians. Wow, I just
Composer.
Thank you. I just woke up, guys. It's very early in the morning. We haven't even had breakfast, and we're about to talk about food, so this is going to be a fun one. But yeah, he's one of the best composers out there at the moment. And he started on, like, fucking New Girl and Community and Happy Endings.
The cinematography was done by Peter Deming. He worked on The New Mutants, which also stars Anya Taylor-Joy.
I always forget about that movie.
I like it.
I know you do.
I know some people were like, meh. That's the. I don't.
Is that how they sound?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what they were upset about, but I'm sure it was. I mean, it came off the heels of. First of all, it was delayed for over a year.
Yeah.
And had like 20 release dates.
Yeah.
COVID didn't help.
Never did. It didn't help on so much.
But it also came on the heels of Dark Phoenix, I believe.
Yeah, which was
the worst.
Yeah, I didn't even see that one. Like worst. I saw parts of it, and I read
Apocalypse
the synopsis.
Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix were just.
Oh, they wasted Oscar.
They just ruined
much.
everything.
Yeah.
They ruined the X-Men franchise with those two movies, and I believe
Deadpool
New Mutants,
and Wolverine.
Well, Deadpool, of course, that made a lot of fun. But no, I really enjoyed New Mutants. But anyway, it was also the cinematographer for Oz the Great Powerful, The Cabin in the Woods, which is one of my favorite comedy horror.
You do love that one.
Films. Scream 2, 3, and 4 he did the cinematography for. Drag Me to Hell from Sam Raimi, which
Another movie you love.
That movie.
Yeah.
He also did Austin Powers 1 and Goldmember. From Hell, Alan Moore's From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Wow. He's had a hand in a lot of like horror
Horror Drive,
comedy. Oh, that's a weird fucking movie. Yeah.
Thriller horror. Loaded Weapon, if you want to get some comedy in there. My Cousin Vinny. And then Evil Dead 2, I believe, is where he got his cinematography beginnings with, which is kind of perfect.
Sam Raimi is unto his own type of director, so the cinematography in his movies are a lot different than...
of course, very different.
So
but with these other movies, you could kind of see
a
lot of it. The Menu is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with an 88% from critics.
It's such a...
And a 76% from audiences.
It's such a fresh idea of a movie,
sure.
Right? Like, who thought to take basically, you know, Netflix's Chef's Table and turn it into a horror film, right? Like, I'm going to put this right out there on Front Street because I'm going to talk about it a lot. I would give just about anything to know what Anthony Bourdain would have thought about this fucking movie. Wouldn't you have just loved his reaction to this film?
His opinion, reaction.
He would have thought it was
Watch
hysterical.
this movie next to him in the theater.
He
would have.
He would have loved this film so much, and I just would have loved to have known, like, what he thought about it.
Definitely a satire.
Oh, it's such a satire of food,
and meta.
It's like what cooking has become. Like, it is such a satire of an industry that Anthony Bourdain had such a big hand in, and I miss him every day. Like, God damn it, I miss that man every day. His death broke me. God, I miss him so much.
Yeah, please, people watch either Parts Unknown. No. Right?
Yeah, he
Is
did.
that one of his?
Yeah. But My Reservation.
My Reservations.
No, excuse me. No Reservations.
No Reservations.
Yes.
Was by far the best show out there
Yeah.
that revolved around food and travel.
No, I've had a really hard time watching any of his stuff since he's passed.
Oh yeah, I don't think I have watched anything.
Yeah, it's sort of in the same way when, like, it's been really hard to watch anything with Robin Williams in it since he's gone. There's something about the way that both men left us that hurts too much to watch them, live.
Right.
Right?
No, I get it.
But I just loved him. I mean, his first book, I read it so many times. Yeah, I fucking loved Anthony Bourdain, and he would have loved this movie. Or he would have hated it. That would have been funny too, if he was like viscerally against it.
I think he would have loved it. His personality, his relationship with
food,
high-end restaurants, food in general, and the travel aspect of it, I think would have been up his alley. The menu was made for $30 million and made 41, but worldwide made 76 million. Not too bad for a pretty kind
of a smaller budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like upper low budget. It was nominated for 60 awards and won 2 of them.
No, yeah, this wasn't. What 2?
The North Texas Film Critics Association for Best Ensemble.
Okay.
And the Critics' Choice Super Awards for Ray Fiennes for Best Actor in a Horror Movie.
All right. I mean, yeah, I see both of those. I see it. I see the point and the reasoning behind it. He's so fucking good in this movie. He's so fucking good.
Ray Fiennes is great.
Yeah.
I mean,
the cast is
getting to the cast.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Ray Fiennes starting off with as the chef. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Ray Fiennes. We all know Ray Fiennes. We recently talked about him in our Grand Budapest Hotel, which he was also amazing in that.
He's definitely one of those actors that, like, I'm not sad when I see him in anything because I know it's going to be phenomenal. Like, right? Like, you're like, oh, Ray Fiennes is in this? This is going to be a good fucking time. Because he's just so goddamn good. He's so goddamn good at everything he does.
We got Anya Taylor-Joy, who she's one of those actresses now that's become like...
she's everywhere.
I want to know what she's going to do next.
Yeah.
I'm always interested.
Always.
I never watched Queen's Gambit. I watched the first episode.
First half of the season. I literally watched the first half of the season in one night. And then I was like, it is 1 a.m. I've got to go to bed. I'll finish it tomorrow. And I never finished it. Isn't that wacky?
That is
wacky.
They've just like, meh.
Yeah, it wasn't even...
I'm into it. I want to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, it was so good. And then I was just sort of like, no, I'll get to it eventually. And I still just sort of think that way. Like, I'll get to it eventually.
Yesterday morning, I watched The Vitch.
Yeah.
The Vitch.
Why?
Why did I watch it?
Yeah.
Because I like it?
Huh. It was so early. Like, I woke up and...
Oh, well, if I'm going to watch a movie, especially one like that, I'm going to watch it before anybody wakes up.
Yeah.
When it's still dark. And I can have my headphones on and just enjoy it without distraction.
Yeah.
I guess.
I get that. Without me being like, ugh, why are you watching this movie?
And because in a previous podcast we had talked about, when was the last time you watched The Northman? I was like, when was the last time I watched it? You know what? I should watch Robert Eggers' films before Nosferatu comes out at the end of the year. So I watched The Witch yesterday, and so the next on the list is The Lighthouse, and then The Northman.
You might, as much as I love Willem Dafoe, you might have to watch The Lighthouse without me. I just don't think that's a movie that I can...
I don't think that one's
stomach.
for you.
Like, it just seems so fucking bizarre.
It is.
Yeah.
Very. But it's a lot of fun, too. Anya Taylor-Joy is now also Furiosa. Mm-hmm. I quite enjoyed her performance in that. Yeah, even though she's very stoic and... she very much takes on the
she's
Mad
Furiosa,
Max
right? Like, she
role.
has to be.
Well, I mean, she does more in Fury Road as far as dialogue and... but this is... Yeah, it's now on HBO Max, so I've been wanting to rewatch Furiosa.
Yeah, I wasn't unhappy I saw that movie in the theater because it was, like, big, and Chris Hemsworth was my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah.
He
Chris
had
Hemsworth
so much goddamn fun in that film, and yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy was... not just sort of there, but she was just kind of there a little bit, But like, whatever. It was a fine film.
Nicholas Hoult plays Tyler.
God, what a fucking piece of shit he is. What an
Yeah,
absolute piece of shit Tyler is.
Tyler was not the best.
Yeah.
No. Quite opposite. But he's definitely one of those.
So good. He's such a good actor.
His character starts off as just that. I'm just a consumer of Instagram and
food. Yeah, right. He's just one of those rich, yuppie foodies.
Started off by watching Chef's Table.
Yes.
Which he even admits in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is funny on a few reasons because a lot of the writing was because of Chef's Table.
Mm-hmm.
One of the writers had recently watched some of the episodes and thought it would be funny to make a horror movie around Chef's Table. And I believe he sent an outline to his other friend who's the co-writer.
Yeah.
And together that's where Chef's Table essentially came from. And then they get
an actual chef who has been on Chef's Table.
Yeah.
To be like the consultant chef, Dominic Crenn.
Yeah.
Who's an incredible chef in her own right.
She recreated many of her own dishes from her restaurant in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And some of her own dishes recreated for the movie. And then there was a second unit director, David Gelb, who actually worked on Netflix's Chef's Table, who also worked on this movie to get a lot of those
Chef Table-esque
shots with the words, as they're highlighting, because they really wanted it shot like Chef's Table. Hung Chow, who plays Elsa,
who's honestly the star of this fucking film. She's so good.
I know she was. I don't really remember the character too much because I only watched it once through.
But how do you forget her line delivery?
Well, no.
Tortilla.
No, I remember her character from this. It's. I was gonna say she played a character called Lady True in the Watchmen TV series.
Yes.
I remember her character. I just don't really remember much of her.
Yeah, I remember when I was looking at her IMDb yesterday after watching this movie, I was like, "Oh, I've expected her to be in more." You
do, yeah. I did expect her to be in a little bit more than what she's been in. Yeah. I'm hoping that she seems to have been she keeps popping up in things. She was in Asteroid City. She was in The Whale. Her character in The Whale is fantastic. She definitely should have gotten a nomination for Best Supporting Actress that year. Hong Chow actually received a nomination for Best Supporting Actress for The Whale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who won, but I'm glad she was at least nominated because that was a great performance from her. And she is this just kind of funny character. The way she says tortilla. And the way she talks to the guests.
What does she say to that one dude? You will eat less than you want and more than you deserve, or something to that effect.
You will eat less than you desire, but more than you deserve.
Yes. Which God damn it, it's such a baller line.
I really like that line.
Yeah.
Janet McTeer, who plays Lillian.
Mm-hmm, the food critic.
I know I've seen her from things.
I mean, I think she's just one of those great, British character actresses who has kind of been in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Adelstein, who plays her husband, who's the very, no matter what she says, he disagrees with.
Oh, no, that's not her husband. That's the, he's so she's the film, or the restaurant critic, right? And he's her publisher.
Assistant?
No, he's
I thought they were married.
No, he's a part of, because at the end of the movie, when he puts down the credit card to pay for this meal, he's it's on the magazine. So yeah, I think he was
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's a part of whatever like magazine she.
Like an editor?
Yeah, an editor
Something like
or a publisher or but he's a part of that.
But he essentially always has an opinion, then she corrects him, and then he agrees with her.
Yes, his opinion is always changing for her.
For her.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo.
Oh, fuck. I love him so much.
Which in the credits, he's just listed as movie star, even though he is named in this movie. I just don't remember.
Yeah, they don't really ever say it at any given point, but he has gone on record to say that he based his role off of the most horrible human he could think of, which was Steven Seagal. Yes. I forgot his name for a second there. But yeah, he because he had worked with Steven Seagal and considered him just the worst person. So
Nice. Reed Birney, another character actor that was very familiar. He played a senator or some sort of politician.
was he a politician? I thought he was just like your basic billionaire. Because why would they do that to a politician? I mean, why wouldn't they? But I feel like I feel like the old couple. The point of the old couple was just that they were very rich, and they went to this place a lot.
He just came off as.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a line that was said or.
No, I'm pretty sure he was just rich asshole.
Because I thought that because he's cheating on his wife, that it was going to be some kind of scandal.
I think it's just literally a matter of like, he's just kind of an old piece of shit, right? Especially once you know about what he wanted Margot to do to him. Like, he was just kind of a old billionaire douchebag.
And then married to him is Judith Light, who we all know as Angela from Who's the Boss.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, that's Angela. Who's the Boss? That's really all I know her from. And there's an assortment of other actors who are playing the staff and some of the food bros.
The food bros, Rob Yang, Arturo Castro, and Mark St. Cryer. I really like Arturo Castro. I know him mainly from Broad City, but he's done a bunch of other like little kind of things, and he's very funny. There is something about the sommelier played by Peter Grosk that I was very curious about. Like I kind of like I knew him from something.
Yeah.
But going down his IMDb, like.
He does have a familiar face.
He has a familiar face, and I've seen a lot of his stuff. Like, he was in Stranger Than Fiction, which is a favorite film of mine. But I
wouldn't know who he was.
I wouldn't know who he was. So I think he's just one of those guys that's like...
He writes for Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a Daily Show writer. He may have been on the Daily Show because a lot of their writers
were also
are on camera as well.
Yeah. But he cracked me up. I thought he was just this sort of menacing creature off to the side. And all of his line deliveries about like the different wines and how they were, like, I found this very funny. Same with Christina Brucato, who played Catherine, one of the sous chefs. She's another character actress who I've seen in a good handful of things, but not like she had a huge role in the Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Green Arrow. Like, she was a big character in all of those movies or TV shows, as Lily Stein, but I don't really remember her character in that. But I really liked her in this movie with her very small part of being a female chef, dealing with what it's like to be a female chef. And I found her very funny in this movie. In fact, she has my favorite line in this film, which is, everyone dying was my pitch. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah,
like, because,
funny.
I've worked in a restaurant and I've imagined.
Emma Stone was originally going to be the Anya Taylor-Joy part.
I'm kind of glad that she wasn't. I adore Emma Stone, but I don't know. Like, this movie is so good as is. Sometimes when it comes to like other castings, it's sort of like, oh, well, why would we, I would like to see the movie with this person in it or that person. But this film is such a good cast and they all have such great chemistry and play off each other so well. I couldn't imagine actually watching it with anybody else in it.
And this was not filmed on some secluded island out in the Pacific. The main filming was in Savannah, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And because they were in Georgia for the exterior shots on the island, it was shot off of an island called Jekyll Island off the shore of Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Made in Georgia. I know that it was based off of a handful of actual islands that are restaurants, but it was mainly based on one in like Sweden or Norway that like one of the writers went to on their honeymoon and was just like, man, if like, you know, it was an island where they sent him out on a boat, right? And all of his thought was like, we're stuck here. If anything went squirrely, like, we're stuck here. And that's kind of, you know, in part where the idea of the film came from. Because there are, you know, I know that COVID wiped out a bunch of these more like really ritzy fine dining establishments that existed out there in the world. But there still are places where it's literal food destinations that you have to travel to get the best food in the world. But nobody can afford it, right?
Right.
Like, it's not like the French Laundry where, you know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you get to go to and have an incredible meal. It's quite like that. But, like, at least the French Laundry is just out there in the middle of, like, fucking Northern California versus, like, taking a ferry to an island to...
Yeah.
God, could you imagine? They start off one of the first... I didn't write a lot of notes for this film because I was just so engrossed in watching it. And it is a movie that you kind of can't look away from. But it's $12.50 a head. I couldn't imagine spending $12.50
just to eat a little bit of food.
A little bit of food. Like, that's the thing. It's
like we all, like, you and I would love to have some fine dining.
Yeah.
Like, to go to one of those kind of just for the experience.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I know I'm like, but I don't want to pay for it.
No.
I want to be taken.
Yes. It's like how Ralph Garman's also always talking about Musso and Frank's down in Hollywood. You know, like Hollywood's most famous steak restaurant. It's definitely a place that you go where it's like everything is super expensive. And yeah, I would love to go there, but I'd love for somebody else to pay for it.
Expensive restaurant. Then there's the restaurants that you see on chef's table. Mm-hmm. And then I guess that's the kind of experience I'd like to have, but never pay for out of pocket.
Yes, because we never ever could.
And it's, even if I could, it's like, do I really want to spend that much money for an experience?
Well, I mean, they literally say it in the film. Like, one character says, my dad always says you pay for the experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to pay for the experience that these people go through.
No.
Like, the fact that they make all these people pay and then murder them all is very funny to me. But I guess Anya Taylor-Joy, that whole meal costs her $10.
Yeah.
Which is my kind of meal. And God, I want that cheeseburger.
Burger.
My issue is watching this movie. I don't like fish, right? Like, I'm not a big seafood fan.
Yeah.
And so much of these meals and those fancy meals that you go out and you see, like, so much of it is fish. And it's sort of like, oh, do I have to eat this oyster? Because oysters taste like you're licking a fucking duck. On my most recent birthday, Caveman and I went to an incredible little restaurant in a local tourist town. You know, it was a fancy meal. It was easily, a $200 meal by the end of it? I think with tip and everything.
Yeah, with tip and everything, I think it was...
That's close to $200 just for the two of us.
$250, I can't remember.
You know, it was a lavish meal, but it was for my birthday. You know, we were in this town. We had the money. You know, we'd saved up. So we went and had this incredible dinner. You know, it was one of those places where we looked at the menu beforehand and studied at length so we knew exactly what we were going to get. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try an oyster. Because the only ever time I remember trying an oyster was at a sushi shop in Apple Valley and getting sick off of it. Yeah. But you can't trust those Apple Valley oysters.
Yeah.
When
you're trying oysters...
that far inland?
You're 3 hours from the beach.
Yeah.
Compared to where we were, and you could see the beach.
Yeah. You know, and they're like, oh, these were shucked in a town 20 miles away from us. You know, or these were raised and delivered today from a town 20 miles away from us, and we just shucked them right now. Like, there's a huge difference between that and, like, a fucking Apple Valley oyster. So, Apple Valley Oyster is the name of my next band. You know, I was like, you know what? I'm willing to try. Because I've also worked at a very high-end seafood restaurant as a server for a very long time. And every time I saw the oysters go past me, my immediate visceral reaction was, you know, it was, those look like vaginas. And, like, and they smell like a fucking dock. Like, I just, but I was willing to try it. And I tried it. And it was one of the worst things I've ever put into my body. It was like I licked a dirty dock in a tourist town. Like, ugh. And the server was like, oh my God, so what did you think? And I was like, I hated it so much. And her immediate reaction was, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, nope. Like, I'm not a fan. Like, I knew I wasn't going to like it, but I tried it anyways for the mere fact that I was like, I'm going to try it. Life is about experiences, and who knows? Maybe I loved it. I love shrimp and scallops. You know, I love lobster. Like, I like shellfish. So maybe I was going to like an oyster. Nope. No, it was disgusting. Caveman, on the other hand, fucking loved it.
Yeah, I wanted another one.
Yeah, you should have gotten another one.
Yeah.
I think they were really, like, for
time.
the fact that it was a fancy fine dining experience, I think that the oysters were like $3 each. But they were so small, too.
Like
that was the other thing, is they were only
small, but
about maybe an inch and a half big. And some of the ones that I've seen at my old job, like, I have a picture on my phone of an oyster we shucked at my old job that was like 6 inches big. It was huge. It was so big we didn't even serve it to the customers. Just one of my coworkers ate it because we figured it was too big to like hork down.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really like those oysters. The ones from Apple Valley were disgusting.
Yeah.
But the one from that experience I really liked. And then there was another experience where they served, it was when I went to that fancy dinner where they, for an appetizer, it wasn't even an appetizer, it was pre-appetizer, it was have some oysters and champagne kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the oysters were served with a Bloody Mary inspired.
It was like Bloody Mary, like pearl on top.
Yeah.
Like it was the way. So if you've seen the menu, which again, you should be watching this movie if you have, or you should have watched this movie before listening to this. It is so early. I need to drink more coffee. It's not even 10 a.m. But anyways, it was like a Bloody Mary inspired like caviar, quote unquote caviar. So it was made.
It was made to look like caviar,
Yeah.
but it was just flavored agar.
Yes.
Bloody Mary agar.
Which is exactly what the first dish is that they have when they're on the boat, is an oyster with like a lemon, quote unquote caviar on top. And then Tyler explains to Margot that it's made with agar, which is like a type of, you know, seaweed and algae and blah blah blah. And like it was a fancy fucking oyster, is what I'm saying. And you loved it.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah.
But when you make them right, they taste better than.
Yeah, or they just taste like a fucking dock. Like you're licking just the underside of a salty, woody, just dock. I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. I think we kind of went way off topic here, but paying for fancy food isn't something that we do a lot.
We have had some fun.
Yeah, we've had some nice restaurant experiences.
It's an occasional thing.
Yeah.
There's one local to us that we only been to once.
Yeah, which I would love to go to again.
Should do that again. There's a fancy distillery down the street that also makes some amazing cocktails.
Oh God, I mean that place is fantastic and
If
totally worth like the $200 we could drop there, but that's entirely on alcohol.
It is all on alcohol.
That place did have the best olives I've ever had in my life. They were gin-soaked, house-smoked olives. So they didn't taste like olives anymore. They taste like smoky gin, and they were amazing.
Good stuff.
Maybe we'll go there for my birthday. But like we don't do fancy restaurants a lot. Like I would much rather go to our local Irish place that we love so much, or fucking some like fancier burger joint. God, I'm hungry.
I did catch a lot more watching it for a second time. When you know ahead of time that Anya Taylor-Joy's character was hired to be his plus one. Mm-hmm. And just the things that the way she answers questions, or
the way they talk to each other.
The way they talk to each other. They make it just borderline enough that you kind of believe that he could be her boyfriend.
Yeah.
and who's just, rude to her because it's not outside the realm of possibility. But then you find out that his original plus one left him.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have been able to make the dinner because you have to have a minimum of 2 people. So he hires her to be his plus one. Last minute.
So Margot is a high-end escort.
Yes.
She's worked her way up in that field. Yeah, you start to kind of catch on a little bit into the movie that you're just like, oh, like, something doesn't feel quite right here. But yeah, at one point she does even say at the very beginning, she's like, well, you're paying.
Yeah, which you just think paying for the dinner, not paying for her services.
I wonder if she got the money up front.
I hope so. I hope she...
Yeah.
Maybe the money up front was the $10 bill. Yeah, or maybe everybody's credit card went to her bank account.
Yeah.
She got loaded off of $12.50 a head.
That would have been nice too.
Yeah, so he knows 100% that everybody at this dinner is going to die. Mm-hmm. And he wants to experience it so bad that he hires an escort so that he's able to go. Yeah. Knowing that
that's the thing.
She's going to die.
He knows that everybody's going to die. He is fully aware because he has been told I wrote it down, I think they said 8 months of correspondence. 8 months of correspondence that people were going to die at this meal. Mm-hmm. And he just really wanted the experience. Like, did he think that they were lying? Like, I don't...
No, I don't... I think he wanted to experience the ultimate experience when it came to fine dining.
Yeah.
From what he thought in his head as the world's greatest chef with the world's greatest dinner.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't miss this opportunity for anything.
He cracks me up because as this movie gets more and more demented, right? Like, we go through the courses. The first one's the oyster. The second one's the melon, with the foam and the whatnot, right? And then the third one's, as this movie progresses and things start to get more and more batshit crazy, right? And the people in the restaurant are suddenly very aware that their lives are in total danger and are freaking out. You always see Tyler in the back eating. He is enjoying the food.
Everything.
He's entire time.
The whole experience. He's taking in everything. And like, if he could, he would be in the kitchen just watching people. He tried at one point, and then they told him to go back and sit down.
Because he's this rich, yuppie asshole who thinks that he knows everything about food. Yeah. And that, he
has bought himself the
PicoJet,
like the specialty equipment that no home cook would really.
No, he's got all of this stuff because he's obsessed. He's
obsessed with making these meals.
Yeah, and he talks about how actual artists or movie makers or musicians, make all this money and go out there and do all these incredible things. All of them are terrible because truly food is the best kind of art. Like, that is the art that he is obsessed with.
It's life.
Because it's life. Oh, God, he's so pretentious.
And death.
Yeah. So he's such a tool. We all know people like that, or at least I know I've bumped into several in my time in restaurants where they're like, oh, tell me about the blah, 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 the mignonette, or blah, like those fancy, like just foodie douchebags. He's a foodie douchebag. And, ultimately when it comes down to him having to cook anything, he can't.
Yeah.
He can't.
He can't.
No.
Especially under that kind of pressure.
No. Like, why wouldn't you make just scrambled eggs or something? Like, why would you ask for fucking leeks, which are, by the way, so hard to clean, lamb and
leeks,
whatnot.
Lamb, butter, and there's another vegetable.
Shallots. Yeah.
With shallots and leeks, like...
Yeah, it's kind of redundant.
Yeah, it's...
Although,
it's not redundant. It's more like, pick something that's a little more...
Well, no, but he's a fancy, fine dining foodie.
I'm just trying to think of other things that go well with lamb.
Actually, I think that shallots and leeks would go very well with lamb, but you'd want to cut them smaller and prepare them differently. And like, I could probably make a pretty good dinner with lamb and leeks and shallots, but I'd have to find a good recipe, and I would just have to trust my own instincts, because like, we're pretty good cooks and we trust our instincts in the kitchen because we've been doing it for so long. And we can make a fine ass dinner. Like, again, my Thanksgiving dinner, phenom. I'm not on par with Chef Slovak, and I never will be, and I'm okay with that, because God, that guy's miserable.
If anybody wants to come over and have a nice, delicious beef bolognese.
Yeah, Caveman makes a great one.
Or I just made beignets for our kids' birthday.
They were so tasty. And I made Salisbury steak the other night, and it was
so good too.
It was so good. We need to add that in our repertoire more often. Like, my God, just meat and potatoes
Cheap
and gravy.
and easy.
Oh,
quick.
so good.
Yeah, man, I'm hungry. There were a few first dishes that were very normal in a hoity-toity kind of way. And then the first like jab at the customers was, you get no bread.
You get no bread. Yeah,
We're famous for our bread.
the breadless bread course.
Yeah. And you just eat the
sauces.
Just eat the sauces that you would have with the bread.
And then the film critic kept talking about how the emulsion had slightly split.
Yeah. And then they keep serving her.
They just keep getting more and more broken emulsions.
Yep.
Like, they're so fucking petty.
Here's another bowl for you. And then you get the tortilla, the tacos, Taco Tuesday.
Tortilla.
And
I love Ray Fine's delivery of Taco Tuesday. Like, the way he shakes his head and everything. It's so funny.
Yeah, and that's when you really start seeing that this restaurant is not just
it's
a restaurant. Like, they're showing them on like lasered tortillas. You've got proof that the one guy was cheating on his wife. You've got, the three douchebags have all their bank information.
Yeah,
proof that they've been.
So the three like yuppie money douchebags that are there, they work for the man who owns the restaurant.
Yes.
Because Chef Slavic, what was his? How do you pronounce his last name? Slovic. Chef. Yes, chef. He does not own the restaurant. The restaurant is owned by a very rich man. He owns the restaurant, but it is Slowik's restaurant, but he just does not own it. And these three dudes work for that guy, and that company that they work for is clearly embezzling money. It's, they've done several basically fake like invoices that they've made people pay. Like, it's a shifty company. Yeah. Right? And so the tortillas.
These are tortillas. Tortillas deliciosas.
Yeah, so what are these?
They've all been printed with like different things for each table. Each table gets a personalized tortilla, but the three food bros get what's on theirs is basically proof that they're embezzling money.
Right.
And they're freaking out because they're like, how could you possibly know this? And does this tortilla hold up in court? And I'm like, well, if you just ate the tortilla, then that looks like a good tortilla. For instance, Tyler's tortillas had pictures of him taking photos of all the food, which was not allowed.
Right.
They were like, please, don't, cameras. But he couldn't stop himself.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because he knows he's going to die, but he still wants to take pictures of all the food.
Yeah, but who is he going to share them with?
There's no service out in this island.
Yeah.
So he's not like Instagramming everything.
No.
So it's just for his own.
Yeah, because he can't help himself.
He just can't.
For him, that's part of the experience, is taking pictures of the food first.
Right.
And he doesn't even bother to hide it or even like turn the sound off on the camera. They're like, please don't take pictures of food. And he's over there like, click. But then when he actually tries the tortilla, he's screaming at Margot about whatever, because he's such an asshole. But then he actually eats the taco, and he's like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, the twistedness of that dish anyway. So we've been talking about the tortillas. But what I always found super twisted about that particular dish was the fact that it was a chicken thigh with scissors shoved into it on a plate that's been wrapped in a phone cord. And the story that Chef tells is about how on one particular Taco Tuesday, his father came home drunk, tried to strangle his mother with a phone cord, and then to stop him, an 8-year-old little boy, the chef, had to stab his dad in the thigh with scissors.
Yep.
And the fact that they then recreated that dish, it's so delightfully fucked up. And we haven't even talked about how the entire time his mother is just sitting in the corner getting progressively more and more wasted.
Man, when he's behind her and he's miming choking her with a phone cord, that was disturbing.
Oh yeah. No, like this whole movie is worth watching a couple of times because it's one of those things where you kind of like you catch up on little moments where you're just like, oh dang, what the fuck is going on here? Knowing the twist, right? Knowing that everybody's going to die, going into it, you start to view everything a lot more differently. And it definitely is a movie that bears repeat viewing because, like, I didn't really notice until yesterday that the plate had a phone cord on it for the chicken dish. Or, you know, like, I noticed the scissors, obviously, but the phone cord I completely didn't get. The fourth course is called The Mess.
Oh, and this is where
shit really takes a turn.
You really get a sense of that this is not what they thought they were getting into.
No.
Yeah, the mess. The sous chef makes himself part of the dish in a way.
In a way, like I guess he's more than anything, he's a part of the presentation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. It's not like they were eating him.
No. So the meal itself is like, it looked delicious, by the way. It was like one of the few meals that I was like, oh God, I want to eat that. Of, you know, really good steak tenderloin and potatoes and bone marrow and all this other stuff that looked so amazing. But ultimately what the point of the dish is that the sous chef they put out this big tarp, they cover the tarp in flowers. You know, the sous chef goes out there. He's clearly distraught. And Chef Slowick starts talking about who the sous chef is and how he'll never be to his own level.
Yeah.
He's good, but he'll never be great.
Right.
And then the dude straight up puts a gun in his mouth and kills himself in front of everyone.
Yeah. And lands on the tarp.
Tarp that they then, they roll him up.
Yeah.
Like...
that was...
Oh, that's such a shocking scene. And everybody's absolutely freaking out. The food critic thinks that it's all theatrics. She's trying to calm everybody down by saying it's all...
Yeah, this is what he does.
Yeah,
this is all...
It's stagecraft.
Yeah.
Right? This didn't actually happen, but, like, there's seriously brain matter everywhere.
I thought for sure... The first time I saw this movie, I thought for sure they were going to present part of his body, or he was going to be a main protein in like one of the next dishes.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go cannibal in this movie.
Yeah, it really just kind of lends towards that.
They always talk about, you and I have watched enough food TV that there have been known to be elite foodies out there who pay for the experience to eat another human being.
Yes.
And
also just some straight up weird fuckers who are into it too. It's not just elite foodies. It's
sure, right.
I mean, Hannibal Lecter is the ultimate foodie turned cannibal.
He is, and even the TV show Hannibal shot a lot of the food preparation, a lot like what you see on Chef's Table, which I always thought was funny.
Anyways, another part of The Mess is where the next stage is everybody's freaking out and the old couple tries to leave. And in the process, the old man gets his ring finger cut off at the table.
Yes.
And I love it when when Elsa picks up the ring and hands it
Here's your
to
husband's ring.
the wife, and she's just like, and so now here's this man who's bleeding out because his ring finger's just been cut off. And yeah, shit starts to get serious after this point. The fourth course is really the turn of the movie, and what cracks me up is that then it leads into a palate cleanser of wild bergamot and red clover tea. which is sort of the last moment of normalcy that any of these people have. Although, I mean, they're not having a normal moment. They're all freaked out by what's going on. But it's like the last meal that is kind of on the normal side.
The chef keeps bringing Anya Taylor-Joy's character to the back to have conversations with her. Why she's there. Who is she? Why are you part of this? This wasn't meant for you. This is meant...
Yeah, this was meant for somebody else.
This is planned months ahead of time. And,
yeah.
You're not part of the plan or the outcome. This wasn't meant for you. Essentially being like, the other person we had in mind who's not here was meant to die in a massive restaurant fire rather than, like, for all intents and purposes, an innocent woman.
Yes. Well, that's just it, right? Like, all the people in this room are dying for a particular reason.
Yeah.
And so Anya Taylor-Joy is literally the substitution that, is not supposed to be there because there are no substitutions in this restaurant. Slowick is such a established chef that, he absolutely does not allow any sort of substitutions on his dishes.
What you see on the menu
is what you get.
But
she's a substitution.
Right.
A literally walking substitution. So he's having a hard time with the idea that he knows that all these people are going to die. But here's this innocent girl, right, that he sees a kindred ship in. He knows that she's an escort. He knows that she's not supposed to be there. And he is so desperate to find out who she is, almost so that he can, like, justify killing her, right?
Yeah. Tell me about your life.
Are you one of them, or are you one of us? Are you one of the givers, or are you one of the takers?
Right.
But ultimately, everybody in that room was a taker, right? And not a giver, including her. Her being there throws his entire night off, and it's kind of a lot of fun to watch.
I like the name of Tyler's dish. Tyler's bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we talked about.
And that's another thing I love about this movie is even in all of the chaotic, like, insanity, right? Every time a new dish is presented, it is still given that, no matter what else is going on in this movie, somebody's bleeding because their finger just got cut off, somebody just killed himself, like all of this insanity. And then it goes to that chef tables-esque beauty shot of the food that's about to come. Yes, chef! I really love Man's Folly. I think that's my favorite dish. So they take everybody out of the restaurant and for a breath of fresh air, right? And they tell the men, like Chef Slowick tells a story about a sous chef, a female sous chef of his. Actually, no, I think he introduces her and she tells the story about how...
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that Chef Slowick tried to have sex with her.
Yeah.
And she turned down his advances. And so he punished her by not firing her, but instead making her work in the kitchen for like 9 months, right? But not speaking to her, not acknowledging her. Just like she was invisible, but she still had to be there every single day doing what she had to do. Yeah. But he was treating her just purely like shit because she wouldn't have sex with him. That does lead to like this movie. It's not just entertainment value. It actually kind of does talk about like the darker sides of restaurants. The mess is sort of all about how much of themselves that chefs put into their dishes only for people to like not acknowledge that sacrifice or that passion at all. And, how exhausting and tiring it is to give all of yourself to something that nobody gives you credit or appreciation for, right? And so that was part of what this message behind the mess was, is that here is this man who literally worked himself to death for nothing, for food, for people to eat his food but not appreciate him, not know his name, not care about him. Whereas Man's Folly is all about the constant and horrific sexual harassment that even still women face in professional kitchens. Because although, apparently, according to men, a woman's place is in the kitchen... But that's at home, not in a professional kitchen. Because you can't have a woman in a professional kitchen without her being a ball buster who has got to be there dealing with the sexual harassment, dealing with the men and all the shit that they say, and having to put up with it, right? Just for the passion of cooking.
We kind of saw the same thing in Ratatouille.
Yes.
Which is kind of the same kind of. I mean, it's not the same movie, but
no,
it's still a professional kitchen where
Colette
the female character
has had to
really become an asshole,
super tough, in order to survive
a male-dominated kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, even as a server in a fine dining restaurant, I received my fair share of disgusting sexual harassment at my job. Like, there was one chef in particular who was so fucking gross to all the women. And it was just like, you know, it wasn't an open kitchen concept in the way that, like, customers could really hear. Customers could hear kind of the stuff that was going on in the kitchen, but not a lot. But, like, some of the shit this guy said to me that I just dealt with. Like, I don't even remember his name. I can barely see the look on his face, and I really hope that he's, I don't know, dead in a ditch somewhere. You know, it'd be something where I'd be like, you know, bent down or, you know, like squatting down to put away like cups. And he'd walk up to me and thrust his dick towards my face and be like, oh, you want some, baby? Like shit like that. And I was just a server at my job being sexually harassed by a chef. And by the way, this is all stuff that I'm not even like angry about because that was just life in a kitchen. My first ever job was at an Applebee's. And there was a fry chef there who only ever spoke to me in Spanish. And I was told, like, it was a part of my training that you never responded to this guy. Because in Spanish, he would ask you the most disgusting, vile, terrible things, right? To make all the other chefs laugh. And he would try to get you to say yes, to agree to them. I was 19 years old at an Applebee's at my first job, and I was told never to respond to this guy because all he was doing was sexually harassing you. And it was never discussed. It was never taken care of. Like, this was a guy that when I was in a kitchen would follow me around. I never felt safe in like the weird dark hallways of the back of that kitchen because I always expected him to come around and grope me. Like, that was the level of like, you know, and that was 20 years ago. But still, like, that was my very first job, was being sexually harassed in the kitchen by the chefs. It just became something that, as a server over time, I was so used to that you just, you know, when somebody would be like, hey, baby, you want a piece of this meat? You reply, oh, I would, but I couldn't find it. It's so fucking small. Like, you have to basically lower yourself to his level and constantly degrade these people, you know, because that's what they liked. That's what they liked. And management never did a goddamn thing about it. You're literally he would be standing next to the head chef saying terrible shit to the women in the kitchen, the servers in the kitchen doing their job, and the kitchen would just laugh at it. And I mean, yeah, this was 7 years ago at this point, but still, like, it is a constant problem of how women are treated and abused in kitchens and professional kitchens, and how tough and angry they have to be in order to survive that. When the Me Too movement kind of swept through Hollywood, right, and especially the business world, and got rid of all these habitual predators, I was always kind of excited for it to hit kitchens, and it has to an extent. Like, Mario Batali isn't as popular anymore because he was a habitual sexual harasser, right? And there's a handful of other people that got caught up in that too. But it's still a problem. Like, restaurants as recently as this year have been closing down because of sexual harassment lawsuits. All of this to say, A, being a woman is perpetually fun, and B, I really loved Man's Folly because here's this woman who has gotten to tell her story. This man tried to fuck me and I said no, so he put me through hell for the better part of a year because I dared to say no to him. And he then allows her, he not only apologizes to her face, but he allows her to stab him in the thigh with some kitchen scissors, much like he did to his own father. Then, while all the men are told that they get a 45-second head start to try to escape, all the women are kept at the restaurant and they get their own dish.
Right.
And I love the scene of all of the women sitting around the table, drinking wine, smoking, and eating this dish. Just like, you know, just like, fuck. just fuck. And like Tyler doesn't
Finally
even
a break from those men.
Yeah, and Tyler doesn't even want to go. He wants to stay and eat the food.
Yeah.
In fact, the second he gets back into the restaurant, he like grabs one of the plates from the servers and starts eating it because he wants to know he's only there for the food.
Right.
And I love that, you know, I love when the critic is trying to convince the female chef, the sous chef, to like, oh, I can help you get a restaurant and everything. And she's like, you're still going to die. And the critic just finally gives up. I love that the sous chef starts crying, right? But I also love that she's the one that's like, oh, well, everybody dying was my idea. Mm-hmm. Like the chef believed in me enough to be like, oh, yeah, let's kill everybody at the end of this meal. I would love, not maybe like a prequel movie, but maybe like a prequel half-hour episode that showed the process of planning this meal.
All the plans and everybody coming up with their own idea.
Yeah.
How to do.
What was the best of it? What was the worst of it? Yeah, there's just something about this whole scene. I mean, I, like as a woman, as a person that's worked in professional kitchens, like this part particularly hit home for me. And I think that it's another very funny reason why, the line of, everyone dying was my pitch. I'm very proud of it. That's why it kind of cracks me up the most. Because it's like, well, yeah, only a woman could come up with that.
And kill everybody.
Just fucking kill everybody.
All these customers and my coworkers.
And then, on top of all of this, the last person found in the chase scene gets a special dish of a soft-boiled egg with maple and creme fraiche on top. And it's
like, congratulations, you were the last one.
And the way it's presented to the dude who's hiding in the chicken coop and just the window opens up and a hand just,
here you go, sir.
Here you go, sir. This is, as a reward for being the last person found. Here's your special dish.
Yeah. It was really funny.
I bet Tyler was super pissed. Like, he didn't even know about it, but he would have been super pissed.
There was a dish I didn't get to try.
It was such a beautifully presented dish, too, of the little golden egg with the creme fraiche piped on top, the little flowers. Like, that is a dish I'd absolutely try. I want to know what Chef whispered in Tyler's ear. What did he say to Tyler to make Tyler immediately go into the other room and hang himself?
This is the worst food I've ever tasted.
Do you think it was something that simple? Like, this is the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth?
I hate that you like my food.
Or you will never amount to anything. You're better off dead than you are alive. Like, it's just one of those things. I don't even think it was in the script. Like, nobody really knows. I think it's wildly left up to interpretation. And I both love and hate scenes like that where you're like, what did they say?
I want to know what he said.
That quote unquote great moment at the end of Lost in Translation.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, yeah. Bill Murray whispers something to Scarlett Johansson, and for the last 24, 25 years, people have been like, what does he say to her? I don't fucking care. I want to know what Chef says to Tyler here. What are the few words that he whispers in his ear that immediately makes this man just straight up kill himself? Like, that's what I'm interested in. The birthday cake. The birthday cake is such a funny moment where towards the end of the meal, they bring out this gorgeous birthday cake to one of the food bros singing happy birthday.
It's like, why did you tell them it was my birthday?
That seemed funny about 3 hours ago. Yeah, that's such a greave moment. We've all of us have been there when somebody like surprises you at a restaurant with what you think is, like, oh, it's their birthday, here's a free dessert, which they don't even do anymore. But then you have to endure the terrible songs that they sing to you, even if it is just happy birthday.
Yeah.
My time at the Olive Garden was spent avoiding any time a server is like, I need birthday singers, because he'd go into the back, into the kitchen, and you would just be like, I need birthday singers, like, I need a group. And, like, you were trained that you had to do it. You were told that you had to do it. Right? And luckily, it was just happy birthday. It wasn't one of those fucking terrible songs that they sing to you at, like, Red Robin, which we've sat through way too many of those since our kids love going there on their birthday. Thankfully, not so much anymore, which is nice. They are growing out of the Red Robin of it all. Which
thank God.
Yeah. But having to gather birthday singers in a kitchen it's just one of the most soul-destroying things I've ever had to do. You're just like, fuck me. And then if you didn't get enough people, you'd then have to, like, try to get everybody at the table and at the surrounding tables to join in. And it was just fuck did it suck. All for them to blow out like a candle on a plate because you weren't allowed to give them a dessert. That's the other thing, is they didn't get a free birthday dessert at the Olive Garden. They got a candle on a plate with some fucking Andes mints around it because, God forbid, the Olive Garden actually give you a small little dessert free for your birthday.
Like a tiny, tiny cup of soft serve or
yeah,
anything.
that's the other thing. It could have just literally been like vanilla ice cream or something, but no, they're not going to give you that.
Less than a scoop.
Yeah.
With candle in it.
At the other fine dining restaurant, the actual fine dining restaurant that I worked at the very least, we had a free birthday dessert, which was the creme brulee, which was so fucking good. Oh my God. You know, that was an actual free dessert. But what I ended up doing for that was if I knew I screwed up on a table, I'd always give them that as a, this is on me, you know.
Hey,
guess what? And after that, it goes into the cheeseburger.
Yeah, and Margot essentially tells the chef, I didn't like any of the food.
And I'm fucking hungry.
And I'm hungry.
And this is after Elsa has attacked Margot in the chef's house, right?
Oh, yeah.
Leading to a very intense knife battle where I love that she takes the Pico-Jet and, like, beats Elsa with it. And then after Margot is successfully able to kill Elsa, like, she straight up has to murder this woman, she then puts out a distress call on a CB radio, thinking that it's going to bring in somebody from the Coast Guard. A guy from the Coast Guard actually comes in, and everybody has to pretend that everything's fine, but it turns out that this dude that works at the Coast Guard is actually
another chef,
just fucking with them. Like, was that always part of the plan, or was that only a part of the plan if somebody escaped?
You know, I forgot to look for him in the kitchen before.
Yeah, you see him afterwards. You don't really pay attention to seeing if he's there before.
No. So yeah, it might have been like, hey, if
somebody actually
calls, it's your job to come over on a boat. Yeah.
But while Elsa is in the chef's house, right, she's looking at all these pictures of him that he has framed on the walls of all of his different culinary, like, achievements,
right? And
you know, a picture of him with his family that shows a woman and a young child, right? And in every single photo, he's scowling. In every single photo, Ray Fiennes looks like he's just unhappy to be there. At the opening day of this very restaurant, he's standing next to his business partner with a scowl on his face. The only picture of him smiling in the apartment is where he is, you know, a cook at a hamburger restaurant.
Yeah.
He's wearing an apron. I'm actually looking at the photo right now. He's wearing an apron that says, Kiss the Cook. It's at a place called Hamburger Howie's. And he's the employee of the month in August 1987.
So yeah, he's just a line cook.
He's just a line cook, just smiling.
At a burger shack.
Yeah, just happy.
Yeah.
And so she realizes that that's how she's going to get away. Is she's like, I didn't like any of this food. I'm very unhappy with my meal. I want you to make me something.
It's like, well, what do you want? It's like, what can you make? And he's like, we can make anything.
She goes, a cheeseburger.
Yeah, just give me a
basic delicious cheeseburger. This is also the only food in the movie that he cooks.
Yeah.
Everything else is cooked by his team.
Staff,
yeah. And so he goes and he makes what...
And I love how the staff surround him and watches him
makes the burger.
Oh, and it looks so good as he's... I know. Like, I wanted one so bad.
I know. I mean, like, Babish did a recreation of this burger. I've seen, after the menu kind of like, because I don't think it really did big at the box office.
No.
But,
I mean, we went over that. It made its money back.
Yeah, but it was
like
in streaming that this movie kind of picked up.
Success,
yeah.
No.
It was definitely, like, most people saw this movie streaming.
Yeah.
Because who wants to go see a dark comedy about food? Like, that's very niche and weird. Like, who's going to spend $20 to go do that? But if you're sitting on your couch high and eating chips, you're going to watch it.
And then go get some food.
Yeah, but watching that cheeseburger, the way that he grilled the onions into the patty, you've done a couple times.
I've done that before.
And every time you do it, it's delicious, but you don't do it every time.
No, I don't.
You should.
Sometimes it just takes time.
I know.
And I'm in a hurry.
Yeah. You do make a pretty good cheeseburger, but this particular cheeseburger is the one that I want. I love that it's got the crinkle cut fries too.
Yeah.
Like, clearly frozen crinkle cut fries. And Margot's like, she takes one bite and she's like, no.
I'm full.
I need this to go.
Yep.
And he lets her go.
Yep.
I think that he appreciates not only the fact that she wasn't supposed to be there, but also the fact that she literally outwitted him.
She played the game.
She played the game.
She did
she found the chink in his armor.
Right, exactly.
And he respected her enough to be like,
all right.
yeah. And when she is leaving and she stops and turns around and looks at everybody in the restaurant, I love that the wife of the old man, that, by the way, she knows that this old man had hired her now, or the wife knows that her husband had hired this woman as an escort, right? Like, she puts 2 and 2 together. She's not stupid. I like how the old woman kind of, like, shoos her along as if to say, like, it's okay. You go. You know, somebody has to tell this story, and I'm glad it's you. And so shoos her along. I think that's such a funny, sweet little moment.
That was Angela Bauer.
Yeah. And then,
Because Angela was the boss.
Yes, that's what Abed.
That's an Abed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who in fact was the boss? It was not
Tony.
It was not Tony.
It was Angela.
It was Angela.
Yeah. And that was Wallace Shawn as the teacher. Do you remember that?
No, it wasn't Wallace Shawn.
It was Wallace Shawn. I'm pretty sure.
So
we're talking about the episode of Community where Abed takes a class on who's the boss at the community college, and I'm pretty sure the teacher was.
I don't think it was Wallace Shawn.
Who's the boss? Community episode. Oh. Competitive wine tasting. It's the name of the actual episode.
What year did it come out?
It was 2011.
What year?
Yeah, it was. It's fucking. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. It was Wallace Shawn.
Where is Community?
No, I'm sorry. I was wrong.
What year did
I was wrong. It was Stephen Tobolowsky. Stephen Tobolowsky.
What year did?
This episode took place in 2011.
It's just not showing a picture of her though. Oh, because she wasn't in it. God damn it!
No, she wasn't in it.
I know.
But
blah.
This is a wild tangent. Anyways, it's not.
Yes,
you're right.
yes.
It wasn't Wallace Shawn. It
Needle
was
Nose Ned the head.
It was Stephen Tobolowsky. I apologize for getting that wrong, but
He's just
did pull that all off
he's
the
just
top
a
of my-
taller version of Wallace Shawn.
he is just a taller version of Wallace Shawn, which is why I mistook them.
Anyway.
Anyway, I really want some s'mores.
Yeah, the s'more setup, putting the chocolates and the graham cracker crust on the floor and the tables,
Wrapping everybody in marshmallow capes.
and putting chocolate hats on them.
I love that the assistant, who we haven't talked about at all, the assistant to the movie star, like, reaches up and, like, tastes the chocolate, and you can tell she's just like, God damn it, that's good. Which I guess if you know that you're going to die and somebody puts a chocolate hat on you, the very least you're going to do is you're going to try that chocolate.
And then the last kind of chef's table shot is the restaurant just burning, and the words come up, and it tells you all the ingredients.
Yeah,
which
everything
was
that's in it.
essentially marshmallows, chocolate, and then it's customers, staff, restaurant. All just in that same text that they were doing.
I love in that moment too, because everybody has accepted that they're going to die.
Yeah.
Right. Like, up to this point, they think they're going to be saved a couple times. Every single time a twist and turn happens, like, these poor people are aware that they're about to die. And, you know, some are seen praying, some are seen just quietly sitting there, some are crying. But I love when Ray Fiennes is giving this great speech about, you know, because he gives a speech about every meal up to this point. So he's giving his final speech. And he says, I love you. And everybody replies, I love you too, chef. But even, like, the customers
say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, well,
They've accepted
this fate. And then, you know, chef goes and stands in the middle of this mess, lights himself on fire. I love that you see, like, the marshmallows roasting on, you know, these marshmallow vests everybody's wearing. The chocolate's melting down their faces. And then it cuts to Margot on the boat at the restaurant exploding.
Yep.
Which I guess is, like, you know you're going to die, but it's going to be a quick death, right? You're not burning to death so much as soon as the explosion goes off.
The initial burning to death looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Midsummer, but
eventually, like, it explodes and you're just done.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. You're gone.
I really love that final scene, and also, again, I always want s'mores. I always want s'mores, and people try their best to, like, doctor up and make s'mores fancy. I think the Great British Bake Off even tried to do s'mores once, and they fucked it up so bad that half the internet screamed at them. Same with the churros episode.
Oh, churros.
Oh, which they don't pronounce churros, it's churras.
Churros.
Which, oh my God, it drives me crazy every time. But, yeah, like a s'more should be not Hershey's chocolate, because Hershey's chocolate is absolutely the worst fucking chocolate on this planet, and it's garbage. But a s'more should be a graham cracker, you know, like a fucking honey-made graham cracker, a cheap marshmallow that's got that fake vanilla scent, right? That I personally like toasted just enough that it's melted on the inside, but not burnt. I do not like a burnt marshmallow. I know there's
some basic like milk chocolate.
Yeah, and some good milk chocolate.
Like just doesn't have to be expensive.
Nope.
It just doesn't have to be Hershey's.
No, and you just put it together and you eat it, and it's gooey and it's ooey, and you can taste it right now as I'm describing it to you. In your mind, you know what a s'more tastes like. That's a s'more.
And you want it roasted over fire.
Yeah.
And you want it to get it just slightly burnt. You want your marshmallow to catch on fire just a little bit.
Nope.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
No,
yeah,
you don't want any black on the marshmallow.
I didn't say you had to be black.
I know people that like their marshmallows like fucking toasted.
Okay, well, I do not like them completely charcoal. But you could get a marshmallow on fire without it turning black.
You've got to blow it out quick.
Yeah, well.
It's been a hot minute since I've roasted a marshmallow over an open flame.
Soft enough so that when you squeeze it, it bursts a little bit.
And then it melts the chocolate. Warm enough that it melts the chocolate.
The chocolate.
Sometimes I just make s'mores in the microwave. And I know that is a super form of food blasphemy. But I also ate a Celeste pizza the other day. Like, sometimes you just... Didn't it taste like everything and awful at the same time?
Processed cheese taste is so gross.
I know, and it's still in your mouth.
And
we have 2 of those left in the freezer, and I'm just like, kids?
And they're like, nah.
For those of you who don't remember Celeste pizzas, they were these little, like, personal-sized pizzas that you could get at the grocery store for $1, right? And I always remember getting them at Stater Brothers for $1, and they fed me well enough, and I was so poor that, like, I was like, okay, well, these will do, right? So you bought a handful and you threw them in your freezer. And I was at the dollar store the other day and I saw them and I was like, holy shit. Holy shit.
I didn't even know they made them anymore.
I didn't even think they made them anymore, and I just had to try them. Because I remember they also used to come with this, like, disc, like this, like, not, like this cardboard disc that had some sort of weird coating on the bottom.
Yeah, it was,
that when you cooked them in the microwave, it kept the pizza from getting soggy.
Yeah, it was meant to help cook the crust.
Yeah, and
hotter.
Keep it kind of crispy but not soggy. They don't have those anymore.
Which it shows because the crust was so
watery
and like flappy.
So terrible. Yeah, because I remember I used to take them, and after I'd cook them on that little like cardboard plate, I would like fold them in half and eat them like a taco because the outside was crispy and the inside was hot and cheesy, right?
Well, I ate these like a taco.
Yeah,
but it was just like the softest
crust. It was so gross.
So gross. If I haven't, I know we've gone off on a Celeste pizza tangent.
Yeah.
But if I have another one, it's definitely I'm doing the oven option.
Yeah. Like I would eat one right now just because I'm so fucking hungry. But like I would want the oven to turn on, and I don't want to wait for the oven to turn on and then cook a Celeste pizza for 20 minutes when it could just be a minute in the microwave.
All that time and energy for
just
a Celeste pizza.
Oh God.
Anyway, Maggie.
Anyways, I don't even know where I was going with that, but I've cooked s'mores in the microwave before.
That's where this conversation was.
One time I was a little toasted and I had the munchies, and I took a stroopwafel. You know, like a big stroopwafel too, one of the ones you'd get from Trader Joe's at Christmas time. Mm-hmm. And we had mini marshmallows. So I put the mini marshmallows on top of the stroopwafel, heated it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. So like the marshmallows started to melt and everything was a little soft. Drizzled it with chocolate salt, like fucking Hershey syrup or chocolate syrup, whatever we had. And like
Midnight Moo.
Yeah, it was probably Midnight Moo. And then a dollop of whipped cream. And that thing was so good. Oh. It was so good. I know you're holding your stomach just like, ugh. But I needed sugar, and that was the sugar I made for myself. You know, I would like to talk about one more thing before we get to the ratings.
Okay.
What do you think the aftermath of all of this is? I want to know what, like, this would be a news sensation.
Sure.
That, you know, because obviously Margot is saved. She knows the story.
And she also wasn't on any kind of list.
No.
So even I don't know what kind of paper trail they left of the people that were coming to the party or anything. And since she introduced herself as Margot, and that's not even her real name.
That's not even a real name, no.
And she introduced herself from coming from a different state because the city and state she came from were, it was different.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's gonna be looking for her.
Well, no, but I mean, I think that as she rolls into harbor, bloodied, and
the chefs all turned on the gas.
Yeah.
As the fire in the dining room was going on.
They had that big drum of gas or something that they put in the middle of one of the burners to help explode everything, right? But sooner or later, people are going to find out.
I think it's going to look like an accident.
Yeah.
And so there's just going to be a news story about, one of the greatest chefs in fine dining experiences goes awry when
the restaurant itself explodes. But, investigators, especially arson investigators, because,
why are these people strapped in marshmallows?
Yeah, why are they all covered in marshmallows and sugar? Why is there chocolate everywhere? They're able to, even with a fire, they're able to figure out exactly
what that there was a starting point in the
in the middle
room
where bones are.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what the sensationalized... It
could have still be some fancy demonstration in the kitchen went awry.
Yeah, true.
And the chef set himself on fire, which then blew the propane or whatever.
Do you think they didn't leave any sort of...
I think it's just going to be looked at as an accident.
Oh, but she was there.
Yeah, but but nobody's going to be asking her questions.
I would go to the authorities. I would go to the cops and be like, holy shit.
Did you see what happened?
Yeah.
This is some psycho chef.
My boyfriend took me to this thing.
I don't know. It kind of ends with her just... The way she just starts eating that cheeseburger and then wipes her mouth with the menu. Mm-hmm. It's more like, I got away. I outsmarted all these weirdos. I'm
free.
I'm free. I'm just gonna... I'm off in a boat.
How do you recover from the trauma of that? Jesus Christ. I love this movie.
Anyway. Maggie.
Yes.
What would you give the menu?
I think I'd give it 4 stars.
You know what? I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. It's wildly entertaining. It's wickedly funny. It's not a perfect film, but it is a fun watch. A lot of these movies, a lot of these movies sometimes can be hard watches.
It is one of the most entertaining and kind of original
Eat
the Rich type movie.
Yes. It is. And
this came out during a year where there were quite a few of these Eat the Rich centered films.
And just the mentality of we're so fucking tired of the super rich. Just keep getting richer while the rest of us are struggling to, pay our rent that's gone up $600+ and everything else. It's, but this movie is fun. Not only because they make it so it is such a beautiful film. I mean, we didn't even talk about Chef Slowick killing his business partner.
By drowning him.
By drowning him.
Hanging him with wings.
And then
dropping him in the water.
Something else that's wildly overlooked is he gives everybody gift bags at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Even though they're not going anywhere with it. House-made granola and stuff. And one of his fingers.
Yeah.
One of the business partner's fingers
you
is
each get
in.
A finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that Margot had taken her goodie bag with her.
Goodie bag.
I
got a finger and some house-made granola.
Ooh, tasty.
And a delicious cheeseburger.
Delicious. God, I'm so hungry right now. But, yeah, I give it a solid 4. This movie is fun. It's entertaining. It's not the best film I've ever seen. It's definitely not the worst, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, same. 4 is very fair for this crazy look at the elite food business.
I mean, we just watched American Psycho, and American Psycho is also kind of, it's not necessarily an Eat the Rich story, but it is a movie about the elite going a little nutty, right? And getting away with things.
Which Wolf of Wall Street did the same thing.
But in this instance, although Chef Slowick is kind of at the top of his craft, he wasn't born into it. He had to fight and claw his way up to the top, and his disillusionment set in and just got worse and worse to the point where he was like, the only way that we can end this story is by killing everyone. Actually, that's one of his sous chef's ideas, and he went with it. But, he wasn't rich from the beginning. He was a man who loved to cook, became a professional cook, and slowly got tormented and skewed and sadder and disillusioned over time. But he grew into that. Like, he recognized his humble roots in Margot, which I think is another reason why he let her go. But, yeah, it's a really fun film. If you've made it this far and you haven't seen this movie, first of all, sorry for spoiling the shit out of it to you. And second of all, go watch it. It's fun. And it's, a little less than 2 hours? A little more than 2 hours?
It's less. It's like an hour 40 something.
Yeah, it's a really just solid, like, easy afternoon film to watch and enjoy and cackle at. And,
And there's only a little bit of blood.
Yeah, it's not gory for sure.
No, it's not that
It's
kind of
not
movie.
Terrifying in the way that, like, other horror movies have been. But it's fun.
Yes, sir!
Hey, Maggie.
Yes, Caveman.
I have 2 questions for you.
Hit it.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
Would this movie have been better if Oscar Isaac was in it?
Again, it wouldn't have made it any worse. So, yeah, put him in there. Why not?
And question number 2. Which character would you have had Oscar Isaac play?
Well, we've talked a lot about the wonderful madness of Oscar Isaac. So I think he would have been, like, he would have, in a different world, he would have been great as Chef Slowick, for his madness. But I don't know if he's old enough to pull off the John Leguizamo role as the movie star.
I think he could.
I think he could. I probably, like, we barely talked about John Leguizamo in this film. He was so good. And he was so funny as, like, the name-dropping, as his words, a name-dropping whore, as a washed-up movie star who's desperately trying to get, like, a travel, food traveling show, right? But he doesn't care enough about food to actually do it.
Right.
He's a dick to his assistant, who we also didn't talk about, but she was wonderful. So yeah, I feel like he would have played that role very well as the kind of washed up old action star that's now just, like, trying to find a new part of his life. But
yeah,
so I feel like that would have been fun. Or honestly, like, I think he would have made a great sommelier. Just, like, in the background, but just popping up with little quips. I don't know. Like, it's hard because Oscar Isaac's so perfect and beautiful in every single way. And I would hate to see him die in a movie. But, yeah, I would say the movie star, I think, is where I would put him in. And I think he would have done a great job. And that has been this week's episode of The Menu. We probably should have given a bit of a disclaimer at the beginning that you should have eaten before listening to this one. But if not, you, like the rest of us, can go off and grab something to eat. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed making it for you. As always, we have a ton of fun with this, and it's always great to talk about these fun, weird, wacky little movies with the love of my life. You can always find us on Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at MovieMinglePod. You can email us at movieminglepod@gmail.com and find us on YouTube at MovieMinglePodcast, where you can listen to our shows over there. Just look out for next week's episode, which is Gone Girl, a movie I've never seen before, so it'll be a very interesting watch. And, until then, thanks for joining us for 30 episodes and a handful of bonus episodes. We've been having so much fun, and we're not even halfway done. So thanks for sticking along, and we look forward to making many, many more of those. In the meantime, let's go eat and go mingle. Bye!
Yes, sir!
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we ruled by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.